equity crowdfunding is just a workaround to a very racist and economically flawed law that allowed rich people, no matter what color they are, to invest in early stage companies. So every corporation that we know of today, be it a Disney, be it a Microsoft, be it a IBM, a lot of these companies, you were not allowed to invest in those companies unless you were already rich. So if you wanted to invest in Microsoft when it first started or Apple when it first started, you already had to be a rich person to do so. And that was just wealthy people's way of locking out the American people from having a piece of the American dream.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the show today. This is Warren Ballantyne, aka WB, the host of Common Ground, where we try to find solutions to problems, not point fingers at people. We try to find support for things that are moving in our communities that's going to help other Americans. And right now, let me tell you, family, every so often somebody comes along who doesn't wait for permission to make a change happen. They build something that forces the world to pay attention. My next guest is one of those people. Now, you may know his father's name, but he has his own name. He's Isaac Hayes the third. And I know how that is to be a third and to be the Trey. My guest today is the CEO of Fanbase, a platform built around freedom, ownership, and equity. Isaac Hayes the third is a leading digital revolutionary from the South, right out of the ATL, raised over $23 million through equity crowdfunding, giving thousands of everyday people a financial stake in the future of social media. And that is historic, y'all. I've been telling y'all about this for years. You've been listening to me. I've been on the radio, since 2003. You guys been listening to me for years. I talked about this when it first came out, before everybody else did. Now, at this time, major tech companies are tightening control over speech, creativity, and culture. Isaac is saying enough. We're done being the product. It's time to own our own platform. Isaac Hayes the third, brother, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Man, the pleasure is all mine, man. Like I said, I was talking about Fanbase when you first introduced it. I saw the vision. I believed in it from the jump. There's so many things I want to talk to you about. I just want to start like this. You've built a movement, not just an app, a movement. What was the spark that made you create Fanbase?
Just seeing Black culture used as a stepping stone, a stool to uplift the wealth of the owners of those platforms, and not necessarily give back to the content creators that actually make the platforms what they are, that give them their value. So creatives across the board, but definitely primarily young people and Black culture are the two drivers of social media. And in those spaces, those creators are often not rewarded, acknowledged. Sometimes they're pushed to the side and other people are made to benefit from that. So Fanbase was my vision to say we need something a little bit more equitable, or a lot more equitable. And then by way of ownership, when you look at the cap table of these companies, and just for those out there, the cap table is like who owns these companies. When you look at who owns these companies, it's a small group of VCs, primarily white men, that make billions and billions of dollars. And then they take that capital and invested in working against the Black community. So they support candidates like Donald Trump, or they support ending DEI. And so we have to start owning our own infrastructure internally, and then use our talent as a combined vehicle for our own growth and success.
You know, I'm so glad you brought that up, because I look at my two kids, and the one thing that I tried to teach them more than anything else, I was like, look, you guys, because they grew up going to college games and being on college campuses. And so they grew up thinking we got to go to college, and they went to college. But I literally told both of them, I was like, you need to create jobs, get a degree, but create a degree, or get a degree that's going to create a job where you can be your own boss. So you can be your own entrepreneur. Want to have the mentality, I'm gonna get this degree and go work for somebody else. Even my daughter, just a quick side note, my daughter got a job offer from Disney coming out of undergrad for like $200,000. Now, my daughter had never said she was going to law school. Never said it to me. Like the whole time she was in undergrad. When she graduated, she turned Disney down and was like, I'm going to law school. And I was like, why are you going to law school? She was like, because if I have a law degree, I always can create income for myself. I don't have to work for anybody else. I instilled in them as young kids, like, you want to be able to have the freedom to be able to say, hey, I'm creating something that I'm making money that I can give back to my community to help other people dreams come true too. Not just take all the money and give them, I tell people this all the time, you getting $100,000 a year, but you're making them $5 million a year. And you know the product better than they do. So
Absolutely.
it's always important. So you saying that Man, look, let me tell you something. This is why I'm such a fan of yours because that is the thought process that we need right now. That, hey, if we're going to be on these platforms anyway, let's be on a platform where we're creating, we're making money, we're not just getting a nickel, dime, crumb because, quite honestly, you got to have 300,000, a million people following you just to make anything on these other platforms. And fan base is a little bit different than that. Fan base is built on freedom of speech, ownership, and making some money. Let's break that down for the listeners.
Yeah. So, well, one, fan bases my vision or my interpretation of social media owned by Black culture, right? Or founded by Black culture. It's the same functionality as all these other platforms. I think the real differentiator is the care that goes into the people that actually use the platform. That's what separates us from everybody else. It's not like the buttons are going to do what they're going to do. It's going to be the same functionality, but really what matters the most is the information that we get, the representation that we have in algorithms, the monetization capability that we have that differs from a lot of other platforms. Those are the things that truly matter once you get beyond the buttons, right? Once you get beyond the software, there is a lot more that goes into the culture of these platforms. And so fan base just separates itself by that. I do lean into content creation monetization. So I was the first to create an app that allowed a person to subscribe to another person using Apple Pay or Google Pay. And so that's a groundbreaking thing because now I'm hearing more and more conversations about individuals becoming their own studios, brands becoming their own studios, everybody else becoming their own network, right? And so when you have that thought, okay, but where's everybody gonna exist? Where's that
Right,
community gonna live?
right.
And so fan base provides the opportunity for both of those things. So it's a free social network that you can engage with, but rather than subscribing to Disney Plus and Hulu, you could subscribe to a person or a brand or a creator in the same way and get that content, but still be able to communicate with your friends, still laugh at the videos and DM each other and create yourself. And so that's what fan base represents.
So let's talk a little bit about crowdfunding because a lot of people, especially in our community, they don't understand what crowdfunding is, especially with equity in the crowdfunding position. So let's talk a little bit about that because see, people are here. Well, you raised $23 million. You don't need no more money to do anything. Look, the lane that
Shoot.
you in, $23 million is like having $23. The lane that you in and what you're trying to create.
I mean, look, the gift of being black is being able to do the most with the least. The curse in
Look,
being
what
black
what
is offered the least.
what
Say
did
that
they
again?
say? What did they say? They trying to turn a nickel into 15 cents or a dime to a dollar. They never lied about that with us.
Yeah,
Never.
never. That's the gift of being black, to be able to do the most with the least. And the curse of being black is given the least to try to do anything.
Yep.
Right?
Been like
And
that since the
so
beginning.
right. And so what I can say is that equity crowdfunding is just a workaround to a very racist and economically flawed law that allowed rich people, no matter what color they are, to invest in early stage companies. So every corporation that we know of today, if it be it a Disney, be it a Microsoft, be it a IBM, a lot of these companies, you were not allowed to invest in those companies unless you were already rich. So if you wanted to invest in Microsoft when it first started or Apple when it first started, you already had to be a rich person to do so. And that was just wealthy people's way of locking out the American people from having a piece of the American dream in the way that they get it. So we're going to leave gambling, we're going to leave the lottery, we're gonna leave, sports betting. We're gonna leave all that stuff over there for you guys over here. But here, we're gonna gamble on Apple. We're gonna gamble on Microsoft. We're gonna gamble on Google and YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. And those wins equate to trillions of dollars, right? And so Barack Obama signed this law, said, nope, it's not fair. Everybody can invest in an early stage company no matter how much wealth you have. And that opened the door for fan base to actually allow the users of the platform to have equity in the platform. And that's game changing because then it's incentivizes users to actually use the platform and own the platform at the same time. And so, being able to do that through equity crowdfunding, we've raised $23 million, which is really a drop in the bucket. But if you could see, and I always tell people to download the app, if you see what we've been able to do with $23 million, you think that we had the money that TikTok had and Instagram had, and they've gotten billions of dollars to build. And we're still raising capital. We're closing our equity crowdfund. This is a $17 million round. And we're right at about $13.5 million. And we closed that round December 10th. And so, if anybody wants to invest, I tell everybody this is a moment in history where you have an opportunity to own a platform that is in line and positioned to be a successor to Instagram, to be a successor to TikTok, and you can own a piece of it rather than just using the platform. And the minimum to invest is 399. That's another huge difference because the low minimums, they're still what we call limited risk, but it's not like to invest in IBM or Apple, the minimum to invest will cost you $25,000. See,
Right.
that's too high. And that, again, that's why it's locked out for rich people. But the parallel between what fan base could be worth and what it's worth now, give an opportunity for people to invest in a company and see a significant return. I'm not talking like double your money or triple your money. I'm talking about 100 extra money, 500 extra money, 1,000 extra money. And so I like that because primarily black people have invested in the platform. And so we're giving an opportunity for somebody that maybe have invested in fan base that puts $400 to fan base in 6, 7 years, give $400,000 back. That's what really excites me because now I'm creating an opportunity for generational wealth for black people and young people to actually go out in this world and not necessarily be taken advantage of by these other systems.
Now, look, let me say this. We're talking to Isaac Hayes the third, but let me say this to everybody that's listening to the show. You heard 399 as a minimum, right? And I know some of y'all, man, $400, Warren, that's a lot of money for me right now. Let me just say this to everybody out there. You buying PlayStation 5s, you buying Jordans, you buying all this, you spending all this money on cell phones, $1,500 on a damn phone. You could take that money, invest, and have a chance to create generational wealth. Those Jordans, guess what? Your kids wear them, they're not gonna be no good anymore. The only way you make money off of Jordans is you got to let them sit up there for 10 years in the box. You just sitting there looking at them, and then when you sell them, you might double your money. You're not gonna 100 times your money. So don't tell me I don't have the money, because if your child or you even, because even us grown-ups, we game, you want a PlayStation 5 or you want one of these gaming systems, you will spend the money for that. And if you're not making money in that, why not invest in this? So, Isaac, let me ask you this. Where can people go? Is it just downloading the app and you can go through the app and put the crowdfunding in? Because I know people who do want to invest is probably asking that question too.
Yeah, no. So you go to the platform that we use to do our crowdfund. It's called Start Engine. So you go to startengine.com/fanbase, and that'll take you to the investment page. It's just you sign up, create an account, and that page is where your stock will always be. I want to reiterate, if it hasn't been said before, that this isn't a donation. So crowdfunding is not like donations. Crowdfunding is not GoFundMe, Kickstarter. Crowdfunding is I own part of the company. And I want people to understand how impactful that ownership is and how much pride there is in saying, I own a piece of something that I use, and I'm not just on a social media platform, or I didn't just donate to this company to try to see it get off the ground. Which support is incredible. I love that, but equity matters more to me because it's the give back, right? It's you give, but it's also the ability to get back in the way that I think is fair and equitable and actually needed for the amount of energy that Black culture has put into social media and the
Oh
amount
yeah.
of energy that young
Oh
people put
yeah.
into value, it's so
Oh yeah.
important.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No doubt about that. That's 100% fact. And speaking of these platforms, people don't realize how many of these major platforms control what we see, what the narrative is, what the story is going to be. Tell us why after you saw this, you just was like, this is enough. We got to change this stuff.
Well, you got to think like 3 or 4 of the richest men on earth control 90% of the media that we see, right?
Yeah.
If you just
Yep.
take Larry Ellison,
Yep.
Elon Musk, and Mark
Yep.
Zuckerberg, just those
Yep.
three, within that, you've got X, you got Facebook, you got Instagram, you got TikTok, you got Paramount, you got CBS, you got all these things where the information flows. And the transition from social media usage to information ingestion is different. So before, social media was like, we get on there, we have fun, all that. But now 85% of people consume their news through social media. They're not watching
Right.
television no more. And so
Right.
these wealthy billionaires with agendas have bought these platforms to manipulate what we see. And it's political in nature, it's racist in nature, it's um it's capitalist in nature, right? And so therefore you can't trust what you're going to see on these platforms, let alone the true information get to you. They're not going to tell you that you can invest and own part of fan base on these platforms in the future because they don't want you to do that. They don't want you to leave their platform and own another one and build that one up, because then how do they exploit you? How do they
Right.
exploit creators? The relationship
Right.
between infrastructure and creatives has always been exploitive, right? So whether it's the NBA and the NFL, it's an exploitive
Right.
relationship. A
Right.
truly, true,
Right.
true. The athletes get paid, but
Yeah.
they're not really respected in the way they get discarded when they don't function at a level
Right.
that suits the organization, and they get discarded. The music industry has been built off black culture and black music, and the
Yep.
social media industry has been built off black culture, black talent, and youth. And so, that's important. So you can't trust these platforms. So fan base, I'm not for that at all. I want free speech. I build a platform for everybody. We're in 190 countries and territories across the world. We're in iOS and Android stores. It's a global platform. I want everybody to use it. I just want it to be a level playing field where when you get on a platform, the agenda isn't to uplift white supremacy or white creators beyond the black people that actually create the trends.
Let me ask you this for the creators out there that's listening. Let's talk a little bit about how the creators get paid in the earning system. Break that down for us.
So fan base is you get paid two ways through fan base. One, through subscriptions, right? So the app is free to use, but you also have the ability to have subscribers. And what I love about that is every single person that has a fan base page is automatically a business. I define a business as the ability to receive revenue for a product or service that you provide. So by default, the fact that you download an app, create a profile, and there's a button that says subscribe, and someone can pay you for content, you're automatically a business. And that's game changing because now you're the point of sale. There's nothing in between you and anybody that has this app, or anybody that you tell to download this app and subscribe to you do so. So use it as a free app, but then also the ability to do that. And users get 50% of that revenue. Now we get into tipping. Micro donations and micro tipping, right, is something that we brought to fan base, which we call love. So on fan base, a like is a thumbs up. We like it. When you love it, right? When you love that content, that person gives you half a penny, and users buy that love. And then the only thing they can do with it is gift it to another creator in the form of a tip. And so every love is one penny. And I always say, $1 million doesn't seem like much, or a million pennies doesn't seem like much, or a penny doesn't seem like much until a million people give you one. And then that winds up being $5,000. A million people give you a love on fan base. That's $5,000 that you made just based off the rev share split. And so those two ways are the ways that you're able to monetize on fan base. And we'll find other ways to do that, even non-intrusive advertising that doesn't affect the user experience. But advertising is something that we will consider, but I just don't want it to interrupt the way it does on current social apps.
So let me even touch on this a little bit differently. You've been open about how the media and tech consolidation is a real threat to the culture of the black community. Why is it now the time to build and invest in our own infrastructure?
Well, we might not have the chance to. I mean, like we have movements and elections and things that happen in our community that are not getting talked about all the time, right? I mean,
Hmm.
mind you, there was a hurricane that hit Jamaica.
Right.
Granted, it was spoken about, but it hasn't been the coverage that other hurricanes get, or other storms get in the past. Even in the Caribbean, or even places like Puerto Rico, it hasn't gotten the coverage. We've had lynchings happen. We haven't seen those things talked about online
Right.
as much. We've seen
Right.
ICE go in there and raid in communities and pull young black people out of their beds in the middle of the night. We haven't seen videos of that kind of stuff. And so if that's the case, if you can't see it or hear it, it's like it doesn't exist, but it really
Right.
does, right? And
Right.
so that's the limitation that social media provides for people, the limitation that social media gives people in getting our messaging out. Plus, I just think that we're at a point right now where if we don't start investing collectively in all sorts of businesses together through equity crowdfunding, that's the only way we're going to be able to pull ourselves out of the wealth gap. If we all could collectively invest in a company and make it worth $500 billion, granted, everybody's not going to be worth $1 billion, but imagine being able to say, yo, I made $1 million off that, half a million off that, you know what I'm saying, 2 million off that, 10 million off that. We have to start doing that, because I love all of our black billionaires out there. I think they're amazing. I love all of them. But I don't think individually any of those people are going to pull black people out of the wealth gap. And it really shouldn't be their responsibility to do so. We have enough economic power in our communities to invest and build companies, right, ourselves and scale them up and make them multi-billion dollar businesses. And that's what we should be doing.
Isaac, I'm so glad that you said that about people making money off of us. Growing up in Chicago, we have all these corner stores in our neighborhoods because we don't have grocery stores around. I always told people they make millions of dollars off of us. You think they're not making money off of us because we're in the hood and you think it's no money over here. But if you have 10 or 20,000 people in that neighborhood, if you got 10,000 people who spend just $50 a month at that corner store, right? That's a half a million dollars a month. That's $6 million a year that they're making in a neighborhood with no money. This is the same thing they're doing through social media. And this is the same way we need to be like, hey, we need a grocery store. We need to own a grocery store in our community. We need to be investing in fan base because we need to have equity in what we're doing. Look, I'm gonna download the app. I'm gonna start creating over there because honestly, this is something that we all should be looking at and taking advantage of. And brother, I'm just gonna tell you personally, thank you. If nobody else is saying this to you when they're interviewing you, thank you for your vision. Thank you for wanting to do something to help us. Thank you for being able to say, look, I don't need all the pie. I'm willing to share the pie with everybody. Everybody doesn't think like that and everybody doesn't move like that. So I just want to publicly say thank you for that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. You're absolutely right. And I love that analogy that you use because we don't think that we have an economic footprint, but the black community collectively has a GDP that rivals some nations in the world, right? And we don't take that wealth, we don't take that collective wealth and apply it towards anything except businesses that are outside of our community. And so we've seen the effect that that's having on Target. Target's trying to manipulate their way back into the system. They're trying to come
Yeah.
down to the Russell Innovation Center. They trying to work with black culture now because those dollars it's hurting them, right? We see the power of that, and I think we should take that capital and apply it to other black-owned businesses. And then even especially in this time that we're dealing with, I think this economic blackout that's going to happen between the
Right.
holidays. I think it's a perfect time to take some of that money. Like, look, I know Black Friday, I get it. We all want to buy stuff. I do, but I pretty much canceled Christmas for everyone except maybe my little brother, but he's 19 now, he grown, you know what I'm saying? So, take care of the kids, but you could take some extra money and say, look, let's invest in some things. I've taken money and I've invested in quite a few things, other startups too, but fan base is a real opportunity. I would not have two things. I would not have built this company if I did not know that fan base could get to the value that I think it could get to, right? When you look at the value of like Facebook is a $1.9 trillion company with a T. Instagram separated from Facebook is a $500 billion company with a B. And so fan base is valued at $160 million now, but I want to get to 1.6 billion and then 16 billion and then 160 billion because as we continue to grow and scale, that's wealth that's going to go back into our community, right? That's going to go into our pockets, help put our kids through college. Again, my father lost the rights to his music a year before I was born. So contrary to popular assumption, I did not grow up rich, but I learned the lesson of what ownership means. And so that led me here. My dad didn't own his publishing. He didn't own his writer shares. He didn't own his masters. And we watched other people take his wealth and that money go to a mailbox of some white people and they put their kids through college and they bought houses and they invested with over $60 million worth of money that Isaac Hayes never
Right.
saw. So I know the lesson and the value of ownership. And that's why this is so passionate for me as well.
Before we get out of here today, I want you to tell people again where they could do the crowdfunding. Number one, what the vision is for fan base in the next 5 years. Number two, and for everybody listening out there, he said something about Black Friday, and it just made me think about something. All of you already got your big screen TVs. You don't need another big screen TV. Take that money and literally invest in fan base. You already got your big screen TVs. That's what you go there for every Black Friday. You want a big screen TV. You want a computer. You already got a computer. Invest in fan base. So tell us where we can invest again. Tell us what the vision is in 5 years, and then we're going to get out of here.
Absolutely. You can go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. The minimum is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in the company. Right now, the valuation of $160 million. Tell your friends, invest for your kids, invest for your grandkids, invest for yourself, and do that. The vision for fan base in the next 5 years is clear. First and foremost, we're about to launch our new recommendation engine, a real algorithm that's trained by Black people, right? That doesn't show algorithmic bias, that's going to deliver the content that you want. Next, we're simplifying the app in the way that you post content. So it's easier to post content on the platform, a lot more simplified in the things that you do. I want to also mention that dark mode is coming. People have been asking you for years. People are excited about dark mode. It's coming back around. Next, we're going to rebuild Flicks, which is our short form video editor, which is like our version of TikTok. Fanbase has 6 formats. We have stories, live, posts, short form, long form, and audio chat all in one app, free to download, free to use. And I'm going to leave you with one word that has been buzzing so hard over the internet probably the last 30 to 60 days. And fan base is going to do this in 2026, but it's going to be Black. And that is micro dramas. If you don't know what micro dramas are, research them. And so understand that micro dramas are coming.
That's awesome, brother. I want to thank you so much for being on the show. But again, publicly, I want to thank you for your vision. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for opening up the avenue for other people to be able to have some kind of wealth in their life too. This is, I always tell people, you always want to invest early because if you get in early, you make more money. You know,
Absolutely.
real quick story, then we go to break. Literally, the son of the owner of Slick 50 Oil sat at my grandmother's table in Chicago with my grandmother, aunt, and mom, and was like, "Look, I know y'all ain't got a lot of money. If you put $1,000 up and invest in our oil, I promise you, you're gonna love what you're gonna get back in return." They didn't have no idea about investing. They were scared of investing. They didn't know nothing about it. They had, high school degrees. They hadn't done anything else but work. And so they was afraid to put their money in that. That $1,000 would have turned into over $400,000 for them if they just had put that $1,000 in. So as a kid
Wow.
seeing that, I'm always like, hey, I'm gonna blow $399 at the club in the next 20 days anyway, probably more than that, to be honest with you. So I
Right.
might as well put it in your money. I
Right.
might as well try to make some money off of it. Literally, brother, thank you. Thank you
Absolutely.
so much, man. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you guys.
All right, that's it, brother. We'll be right back.